Okay, good evening, friends and family, and thank you for coming to another night with Repair, Restore, and Grow Black Communities Behind Black Business. And tonight, we're going to have a discussion, and it's a discussion that's rooted in why Repair, Restore, and Grow Black Communities was actually founded. And it has to do with sustaining our communities here in Chicago. I was born here in Chicago. I have several generations of my family here from Chicago. Doris Lewis, who is one of our board members, migrated here to Chicago from Mississippi. And we have a lot of people coming into this city um, on a regular basis. We have a lot of people leaving this city on a regular basis. But I think as people are leaving and going to other places, you're finding that you can't run away from a very important narrative that we're having to deal with as Black people in this city, in this country, across the world. And so we're going to have a discussion about that tonight. So, Doris, I want to thank you for coming in and agreeing to talk about this subject tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Thank you for the great job that you do.
And thank you for your support. Okay, so family, as you know, we're a nonprofit organization and we are working to enhance the awareness and support of Black businesses here in Chicago. And we are great supporters of our bookstores. And I'm very proud of our bookstores. They are expanding, and many of our bookstores are doing a yeoman's job of connecting with the community and having programs within the bookstores, bringing people into the stores, connecting with them, having book clubs, having book reads, bringing different groups of people from the community to express some of their talents within their stores. It's just all kinds of things going on. And it's so important that this is happening. And what they're doing is connecting with the community. And when we started, we only had a couple of bookstores out here. You know, we used to have 22 Black bookstores and we only had a couple out here, and we were fighting trying to keep one of them open. And but since then, we have at least 9, maybe 10 Black-owned bookstores here in the Chicago area. And if you want to find out about them, go to our website at rrgbc.org, and we have them listed. And we want you to go to these bookstores and support these bookstores. I'm seeing some of the other big bookstores starting to come back. And is it Barnes and Nobles that's you seen coming back, Doris?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, some of the big stores are coming back, but local is important. And so we need to support our local Black bookstores. And as you know, we feature a bookstore every month, and our bookstore of the month is still the Underground Bookstore, which is located at 1727 East 87th Street. And I believe I can say at this time that the Underground Bookstore is our oldest bookstore remaining. Brother Yoel is working hard and diligently on 87th Street, and he has a wonderful collection. I will say an awesome collection of must reads. So please visit the Underground Bookstore at 1727 East 87th Street, or go to undergroundbookstore.com. and you can purchase books from their website and look and see what all they have to offer. And as you know, we go a step further and we have a book giveaway. We do have The Abolition for the People by Colin Kaepernick. And this is a collection of essays and interviews and reflections from over 30 activists and organizers. Information that he has collected to show how important it is for us to get involved, for us to become activists. And we know Colin Kaepernick took a knee, and we saw that many of his peers did not do that with him, and it would have been much more powerful and impacted if they had, but they did. And if you and we do have a winner. It's Christian Harrison. I do have his contact information, so congratulations to you for being our winner of the month for this book. And we will have another book that we will roll out next week. And we've given away some powerful books. And if you want to win one of these books, all you have to do is go to our website at rrgbc.org and subscribe, and you may possibly become a winner of one of our books. We pay for the books, we pay for the shipping. However, we prefer that you go to the bookstore to pick up the book because we're trying to get traffic, walking traffic into our bookstores. But if you're unable to do that, we will pay for the shipping. That's how important we feel it is to read. And then we also have our public policy piece that we are definitely going to be rolling out this year. Save, we want you to go to Save Black Bookstores at change.org and sign our petition. We want to get more dollars for our bookstores. And there is dollars that are available within our legal system, our local legal systems, to help support our bookstores. And we want to tap into those dollars and help our bookstores out. And then we ask that you support the Southside Community Federal Credit Union, who's been out here for over 20 years, providing financial literacy classes, providing financial support to our community. They are more than a bank to just absorb your dollars. They are here to help you. They have a lot of products in terms of personal loans, business loans, loans for your children. Accounts for your children. They have banking accounts that you can set up for a young person as young as 7 years old. And that is a good time to start talking to them about finances and how to manage their finances and what money is all about. And so we ask that you support the Southside Community Federal Credit Union, and they are located at 5401 South Wentworth in the shopping mall at 55th and Garfield. And please come to our website. We will be contacting many of our supporters soon, as we will be doing some fundraising because it does cost to do the work that we're doing. And we're asking your financial support. Okay, Doris, I wanted to come on and talk about this subject matter in terms of staying in Chicago. I have read that we have over 200,000 people, Black people that are leaving Chicago, or just people in general that are leaving Chicago, and just about that same number of people that are coming into Chicago. So there's something here in Chicago, and running is not the answer. I don't care where we go, you're going to run into the same types of problems. It might seem like you're saving money in another place. It might seem like it's a little better in another place, but Chicago has so much to offer. And Black people here in Chicago have played a huge role in all of what Chicago is today. And so we belong here and we have a right to be here. But it has not been fair. The government, the local municipalities, even our aldermen and the decisions that they're making and the decisions that they're not making have all contributed to making life difficult. And you see the disparity in the communities as you travel through this city. And I grew up here. I was born here. My parents were born here. My grandparents migrated here from the South, and I have watched the changes in my communities and throughout the city. Uh, Growing up here, working here, living here, building my family here in this city. But out of all the places that I've gone to, I always say, I want to come back home. This is home. And we have a lot of reasons and we have a lot of rights for staying here. And so I wanted to talk about that. Um, and I would like to start out with you giving your story. I know you migrated here from Mississippi, and you had a reason for leaving Mississippi, like so many Black people, because of what was happening in the South and coming here. And I would like for you to talk about that and address what was happening back there and what your expectations were when you got here, and what it just actually felt like when you first got here in Chicago.
Well, I started coming here when I was in high school. I'd come here for summer jobs. And that was my introduction to Chicago because I had family here, relatives here. And so, as I said, every summer I would come for a summer job. I came to Chicago to live at the time permanently in 1979, 1975. I left Jackson, Mississippi in 1973. I had gone back to school and I had gotten my master's degree. And we had recruiters from Racine, Wisconsin. They were um, looking for a Black counselor for Racine at the time because that population of Black people had begun to grow there. And so I got the job offer to go to Racine, Wisconsin, to work as a high school counselor at William Horlick High School. And my main reason for migrating this way was because of the economic opportunity. I didn't leave Jackson because I did not like Jackson or because, 1973, things that, the integration had taken place, but the Black community was still stable. It was still intact. And Jackson, just like I call Chicago home, Jackson will always be home to me. So that was my primary reason for leaving Jackson, Mississippi, was economic opportunity, more pay, because at that time, they really didn't pay a lot of money. I think my first year teaching, I think I made $2,000 a year. That came out to about $166 a month. And so
Wow.
had I not been staying at home with my family, I it would have been very difficult for me. Would have been able
Mhm.
to find some place, but I wouldn't have had anything left. So my primary reason for coming this way was for economic reasons, job opportunities, as we did in the 1920s when Black people started migrating to the north. It was for economic opportunities, jobs. It was the World War One or World War Two was going on, and so the jobs in the north opened up because of the war. So Black folks,
Mhm.
that's when that great migration came about, and that's how the Black middle class was built. A lot of people think that the Black middle class was built during the Civil Rights Movement, but it really started when the Johnson Reed Act of 1924 was passed, and it opened up the jobs in the North. And so, again, that's why I came this way because of economic opportunities. So I went
Mhm.
to Wisconsin. I was in Racine, Wisconsin for 2 years. And then I met my husband, and that's what really brought me to Chicago. We ended up getting married in 1975. And so Chicago has been home for me since that time. I did go I did go back to Jackson for a couple of years in 1981. I went back in 1981, and I left and came back here in 1983 again because of the economic opportunities. Mississippi didn't pay their teachers well not very well at that time, and they still don't pay that much now. So it's primarily for economic reasons. But I always liked Chicago. Chicago is so full of culture. It's so much culture here. And just as we built America, Black folks made Chicago what it was and what it is today. It was so much culture. I mean, the arts, the everything. It was here, and it's a beautiful city. And I've lived a lot of different places, and I will say Chicago, in terms of the cost of living, you can't beat it. You really can't beat it.
So
And
what was Black culture like when you
here,
came here?
oh,
Hmm.
you know the DuSable Museum, and you had the drummers, you had poetry. It was always something going on in Chicago. The Black community was alive. Was alive.
Hmm.
It was lively. It was popping. It was truly, truly popping. Anything you wanted to do, you could find it any time of the night. And we have such a beautiful lakefront. You just can't beat it. It's no other city, in my opinion, like Chicago. And I've been around this country and I've been blessed to be able to travel around the world. And it's no place like Chicago in terms of the cost of living, that's rent, buying. Now, the houses are much more expensive here than they are in Jackson. You get more for if you get a $200,000 house in Jackson, Mississippi. Back then, and even today, you've got a really nice house. The housing is more expensive. But when it comes to food, when it comes to electricity, it was expensive living in Jackson. I owned a home up until 1921. I mean, 2021. I bought the house in 1979 in Jackson, even though I was still living here because I had planned to retire there, but that didn't work out. So, um, so and it was the cost of living, the electricity, very expensive. I mean, my electric bill in Jackson could be $400 a month during the summertime.
Hmm.
Water bill could be high because I had a big yard and I love having just a manicured lawn. So I would use a lot of water for my lawn. So people think that if you go back south, things are going to be cheaper. Not necessarily, because
Hmm.
milk in Jackson was higher than milk here. And in some instances, eggs were high. Basic things that we need to keep us going. So it's not, just because you go back south, and a lot of people are moving back south, and they're finding out that, what, it's not as cheap as I thought it would be. Again,
Hmm.
house, you can get some nice homes for the money down there. But when it comes to other things, it's equally as expensive or about the same. So I would
Hmm.
say to anyone, if you're planning to go south, don't go there and visit for a while, because the, life in Chicago and life in Jackson is totally different.
Hmm.
Totally different. Now, again, a lot of things have changed in Jackson because of integration. Because when integration came about, we gave up our communities. We left our communities chasing other people. So those communities are not intact as they were when I was growing up and just before I left there. And integration did a lot of that. So, and here in Chicago, at one time, Chicago public school system, we was 45% Black teachers. It's down to 19%. And what we've got to stop doing, we've got to stop running. And I think what started to drive us out of Chicago was that game that they played with us about crime. Crime
Hmm.
is engineered. And I can remember when the Robert Taylor housing developments were up. And every day at 6 o'clock, it was crime, 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 crime. And it was over 200 and some thousand people over there. Well, maybe about 5% of the people may have been acting crazy, but we bought into it. We bought into it, then we started moving to the suburb. And what happened as a result of that? We gave up our power. We gave up our power. You know, we elected Harold Washington, which was, I mean, that was a glorious time in Chicago. You could not have been a better time. Harold was one of the best mayor that the city of Chicago has ever had, because everybody benefited under Harold Washington. He didn't take from one community to give to another. It was equally shared and spread out. So, you know, and so when that crime, you know, when they started, crime is engineered anyway. And so when they started talking about crime here, crime, then black people started to leave Chicago, and we gave up our power. We were in very powerful positions. You know, we had South Shore, we had Hyde Park, we had Chatham, we had Bronzeville. We had a lot of communities that were predominantly black. We controlled and we owned most of the stuff in those communities. So
Well,
again,
you know,
we
I
started.
think the conversation that you bring up about crime is really important. I know growing up in Chicago, we had gangs. I lived on the west side, and there were gangs, but not like the way the gangs are today. They didn't bother people, hurt people in the community. In many instances, many of the gangs were very protective of community.
Mm-hmm,
They provided a lot of services to
mm-hmm,
to the communities, and so a lot of the activity. And I think this could bring about another very deep discussion. A lot of things that were happening in our culture when it came to gangs, when it came to our behavior, like hanging out on the street, hanging out on the corner, always hanging out, a lot of that would happen, but it was like it was a part of the culture,
yeah,
and
yeah.
nobody was bothering anybody. We
Mm-hmm.
were sitting on the steps and
Yeah.
singing all of the songs, that you would hear on the radio. So it was not a big deal for people to be hanging out, and a lot of our cultural behaviors became criminalized.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And people started to look at them, a different way. And then you would go and you'd see people getting arrested, or you see the police harassing them. And I think what really affected all of that was when they brought the drugs
Yeah.
into our community. I went off to college, and when I came back, I saw a huge difference in my community. I saw a difference in the people, and what is like, what happened to this person? What happened to these people? And what these drugs did to our community? And when you talk about jobs, you're coming here for jobs, and I'm looking at the fact that some, people still come here
Good
for
job.
jobs. But then for some reason, there's not jobs out here. So it's like the jobs that are available are for select people, uh, people who have certain degrees, people who are from certain communities are getting certain jobs. And when you talked about integration, that's where I saw the biggest change
Mm-hmm.
communities. When I came home and I saw many of the Asian and the Arab stores in our communities, and I started to see some of our biz people go out of business, especially in the hair care business. Many people, we had Thelma's Beauty Supply over on the west side. We had several other beauty supply stores, and the Asians came in and they were selling the products cheaper, and black people were buying these products. They came in with the concept of the $5, $7, $9 stores, and people were going in those stores, and no one was looking at the economic impact that this was going to have on our community, because as these black big people went out of businesses, they weren't able to set up businesses. That took away a lot of jobs.
But you know what? But I will go back to even before the drugs were put into our communities. I'll go back to the the 70s. You know, if you go and if you drive around in the 30s, the 40s, and the 50s on the South Side, back in the 70s, it was just people, people, people. It was the community was alive. You know, with all kinds of activities going on. Children playing outside, jumping ropes, just all kinds of activities. It was alive, and the same things were going on in Jackson, Mississippi, in those communities. They were vibrant. You know, I mean, it was just so many people. There was so much always going on. If you go through these same communities today, they're dead. They're gone. A lot of vacant lots. Same as in Jackson, dead. A lot of vacant lots. And so, we just started to disappear. And this was after integration in the 70s. We just started to disappear. And then the jobs, as you just mentioned, with the Asians, all these other different people coming in here getting the job. So we started to disappear. So these people that are being brought in here now and that's what people don't understand. These people are here with the help of the United States government. The United States government has engineered all of this for the sole purpose of moving us out. And so, and because at one time, a lot of 87th Street, I remember a lot of the businesses on 87th Street were black owned. I mean, and quality stores, quality merchandise. And so that started to slowly disappear. And then you started seeing other people coming in here talking about jobs. They were coming in here to get jobs, to set up jobs. And they were being, as I said, they were being assisted by the government, by our city elected officials, our aldermen, because that was, you couldn't come into a ward and set up a business without the help of the alderman. And so consequently, this is what we have now. These areas are saturated with everybody but us, and they're making their living off us as a result of this, of the government engineering all of this, pushing us on out of the city, and a lot of gentrification is going on now. And so, just like with the Obama Center, that Obama Center is not going to benefit any area but the University of Chicago. And so what has happened to the people who live in that area? They are moving out because the taxes are going up so high. So all of this has been orchestrated. This was by design. It didn't just happen just because it happened. No, it was engineered, and the government of the United States, local, uh, state and national, has played a significant part in this occurring, and the same thing in Jackson, Mississippi. So what we're going to have to start doing, we're going to have to stop leaving. We're going to have to do whatever we can to stop leaving, because if we leave and go to the suburbs, the same thing is going on. We have no economic power. The Arabs, the Asians have followed us out there, so we're not in charge of the jobs. So our
Well,
young,
now
you,
we do have the power. It's just that our power in a lot of different ways it's not a collective
collective
power,
power, yeah, correct,
and we're not coming together like we should. We have power, we have money,
yeah,
and it's like the way this whole system is set up for everybody can come here, every group can come here and create their own conclave and enclave of a community, and they get assistance and they get approval to do so. Many of them move into your well-to-do suburban areas, and they're able to create their own little communities there. And you have this false sense of a multicultural environment, but Black people's role is not inclusive
not in,
like all of the others.
mm-hmm,
Our role is only to buy, to
mm-hmm,
purchase. Everyone else has the opportunity to sell. They have the opportunity to grow, to create communities. But in our communities, just like when they started, when you look at the west side and the south side, and you look at the north side of Chicago. I was driving down Kimball Avenue today, which is the way I used to go to school, because I went to school on the north side. And I'm looking at the buildings, and all of these buildings have been remodeled. They've been rehab. They've been maintained. TIF dollars went into maintaining the communities
Mhm.
on the north side.
Mhm.
Whereas the TIF dollars that came into the west side, that money was maybe given to somebody to get a few new windows or an old raggedy looking porch. I've seen, and I'm calling them raggedy looking because some other people's got a new back porch, and I probably could have put one up better myself.
Mhm.
The
Mhm.
way the dollars, where the dollars went and how the dollars were spent to renew this city, there was a disparity. And so you go through those communities and you see old buildings, just like you see over on the south side and the west side, but they all look nice. They look like they've been remodeled. You come into our communities, either they've been remodeled or they're
They tear them
falling
down.
down, they're raggedy, or there's a whole bunch of vacant lots.
Mhm.
Because
They
they put X's, there was, I think, the red X that went on certain properties, and that meant that property was just going to be demolished.
and a lot of the properties that they demolished could have been renovated.
Mhm.
But they don't put the money in the communities where we are. As you said, they take the TIF money and they renovate the north side, the south loop, the west loop. When you go, I can remember when Madison going west, it was Skid Row. You go down there now, it's nothing but businesses, and urban renewal. You come back to the south side, and it's like it's just a time standing still. And then I have to blame these aldermen because I don't. They did not have a vision for those wards. Definitely no economic development. I mean, redlining, the racism, discrimination, all of that that keeps us from getting the money that we need to do what we need to do to sustain our communities and to build our communities. That's going to always be an obstacle. But I don't think we had an alderman in any of these black wards who had a vision for that ward, who had a vision for economic development, who had a vision for single family homes, who had a vision for making sure that the people in that ward had jobs. Because you remember when we had the sanitation job, you got the CTA, you had the board. We were in all of those different agencies, there were jobs. So what is happening now? Everybody else is getting into those jobs. They're hiring everybody but us. And I get so tired of black people saying black people don't want to work. That is not true. That's a lie. We need to stop doing that. I don't know who coined it, but it's taken off like a rocket. Black people don't want to work. Yes, black people do want to work. They're not hiring black people. They're not hiring black firemen. They're not hiring policemen. They're not hiring streets and sands. You see, most of these streets and sands people now are Mexican. So they're not hiring us, and that something has to be done about that. Because if you don't have a job, you can't sustain your community. You talk about jobs for the children for during the summertime. Well, these children's parents need a job. So something has got to be done about that. I don't know what we're going to do, but collectively, that's a conversation we're going to have to start having more and more, and not just in little pockets here and little pockets there, because it's going to have to be a collective effort on the part of the black community to make demands on these politicians, because everybody is moving ahead of us at record speed. So we're going to have to do something.
And it's very important. It sounds simple, it sounds redundant, but supporting our black businesses. It's you have some people, they have signs in their windows and say black owned. Uh, we support black businesses during Kwanzaa. There's an event. It's like supporting Black businesses. It's a novelty
Mhm.
that needs to change. It needs to become a way, or it needs to be a way of life. This is the structure. We have to have that type of structure. When you go into the Arab and the Asian community, they have a structure. And their structure is that they spend dollars amongst themselves.
And we used to,
If they're going to purchase properties, if
mhm.
they're going to sell properties, if they're going to purchase goods, they're going to do it amongst themselves. If they need insurance, they're going to get that insurance from someone in their own community. If they need an attorney, they're going to get that attorney from someone in their own community. And they all understand that, and how that economic engine moves, and they're all on par with that.
And
But
you know what?
we
And
we are
mhm.
all over the
Yeah.
place. We're spending our money all over the place, and we're not looking at it like that. And if we're going to be in the game, we got to be operating like everybody else is operating, and everybody else is looking out for their own. And so that's, one of the reasons we started this organization is putting the focus on supporting Black businesses. And I'm going to say again, especially to our aldermen, not making this a novelty, not making this a one time or a two-time thing, but how do we get Black people with the mindset of, I'm going to spend my dollars with my people? Why? Because then those dollars have a greater opportunity to come back to the community, to come
You know,
back to you in
yeah,
some form or fashion.
I'm at the point now. I've just concluded, and I believe I'm very serious about this. If we are to survive, we are going to have to not only separate or segregate ourselves physically, because we are already physically segregated from everybody, but it's going to have to come. We're going to have to segregate our minds. I mean, segregation in the South, in hindsight, was good. We were forced to segregate, not Jim Crow. There's a difference between segregation and Jim Crow. Jim Crow were the laws. That's what the civil rights movement was all about, fighting the laws of Jim Crow. You couldn't go into a public park, unless you couldn't go to a white public park. Yet we had a Black public park. Yet it was Black tax dollars that was helping to take care of both of those parks. Or you couldn't go into a public the bus station. It was segregated. The train station, it was segregated. Those were policies. Those were laws. But segregation, segregation was good. Segregation sustained us. We had our own businesses. We had everything we needed. I had everything I needed in Jackson, Mississippi to be happy and to survive. Came from a beautiful Black community, a good education. So if we don't segregate ourselves psychologically and separate ourselves psychologically, I don't see us making it, because
Okay, now I have a question to ask about that. When you say you had everything that you needed to survive in Jackson, Mississippi at the time, and there were a number of areas throughout this country where you had strong Black communities, and they were thriving and they were growing. Uh, but even with that, you still have to have resources from the government, because in those situations, sometimes it was becoming difficult for those communities to
Mhm,
try to, especially when you're talking about growing.
mhm,
You got your bank, you got your restaurants, you got your stores, but you have to be able to grow.
mhm,
And those kinds of dollars, have not been sent in our way,
No, no, they have
the
not.
way that they have been sent
No.
in others. So I'm sure there were communities that were making it, but they would definitely benefit from those economic dollars, those dollars that could come from their local
Oh,
municipality.
absolutely. But and then you had well, we did the government jobs. We couldn't get the government jobs, so you had the janitorial jobs and the maids and and then we had a lot of black businesses too. Carpenters, painters. It was a lot of self-made black men and women during segregation. We didn't, like you said, we didn't have the government jobs. We couldn't go. We had our own savings and loans. We had our own little banks in our communities, and we could borrow from those institutions that we had within the community. But now, as you said, we didn't have the government jobs and the money. We didn't have access to the money, the capital like that. But again, we made a way. In Ferris Street was like Bill Street in Memphis. These were all black owned businesses. My first little cute dress I ever bought was from this black boutique. We had the black cleaners, black shoe shop makers. We just everything we needed, other than outside of the government. They made a way. We did
And
all
so
right.
the reason I brought that up, okay, because I'm visualizing what you're describing, and we had, but what we had was more modest than what you would see when you
Oh,
go across the tracks or what
right.
have you
Yeah.
into the white
Mhm,
communities. And
mhm,
I think this is what caused many black people to start looking over there and wanting more
mhm.
of what they saw over there, because they had maybe bigger stores, they had maybe nicer stores, they maybe had more different types of things to offer than what we had. And so here again, it comes down to the government resources, the resources from the banks.
and
Um,
and we still don't have that today, even though
abs- there
they're
you go.
accessible. We don't have them today.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
but the
So
thing
we have integrated,
we have
we have
integrated,
moved to the north, or we have moved to these other
but we don't
places,
have it. We
and
don't
we've
have
integrated,
it
and we still find ourselves in the same situation.
in the
But
same.
whereas our geography has changed,
Mhm.
this our situation has
Not
not
at
changed.
all, not at all. And again, that those segregated communities, and because we had the businesses, we were able to sustain ourselves with what very modest, very little, but we were okay. We were not in the condition that I see us in now. We were not. I mean, the unemployment. There was no unemployment like in Jackson or in Chicago in the early '60s and the '70s that we have today. So here again, this is it's systemic, it's orchestrated, it's engineered, it's by design, and we have been losing more and more and more ever since integration took place.
And
And
see,
I think that.
Chicago has resources.
Hmm.
There are resources here.
Hmm.
So there is no need for us to run and go somewhere else,
Not at all.
because we have everything. We've got the best hospitals here. We've got some of the best universities here. We still have our cultural capital here in our different communities. We do have some communities that are still standing,
Hmm.
that are still holding it down. And so we have to fight, and we have to understand that putting our dollars together and making these demands from our aldermen and our state reps. I mean, my goodness, we have enough of them in office to they have enough power to bring more to
Resource,
our
and,
community.
and they know where the resources are, and they are not making sure we get our fair share of those resources. Denise, I had a home down in Biloxi, Mississippi, right across the street from the Gulf of Mexico. And when you came down to visit last summer before last, we visited this old black area, in Biloxi, Mississippi, which
Mhm.
is in its eastern part of Biloxi, right on Interstate 90. And in that section that we visited, it used to be all black, a thriving black community. Thriving black community. Property in that area is so expensive now. And it what happened there is what happened all over the South when integration took place. Black people started moving out, giving up the land. White folks started moving in, buying. It's you can hardly buy anything in that part of Biloxi, Mississippi now. It's so expensive. It's a tourist area. So what we're going to have to do, we're going to have to start staying put, and we're going to have to start rebuilding our communities, and we're going to have to start demanding more and more of our elected officials that we get the fair share of our money. The
Right.
TIF money, we need to demand that the TIF money stop going to the north side, stop going to the south loop, stop going west. We need to demand that these people provide the economic resources that we need to sustain our communities. Because
Right.
as of the 2020 census, we are still 29% of the population. Hispanics are
Mhm.
about 29. White folks may be 30 or 31. So right now, we are still a major part of this city. And as you said, everybody's been leaving this city, not just black people, everybody. And but people are beginning to come back. And as there is no place like Chicago in terms of cost of living, you cannot beat it. We just got to demand that we have these jobs, demand that we have the resources. Because if you do not have the money, if you do not have access to capital, you cannot sustain anything, not one thing. It's
That's
all
right.
about economics, and we're going to have to get serious about it. We're going to have to start. We need to have a national conference on the survival of Black Americans.
And the disparity in the way this funding is going on. I mean, we live in the city.
Yep,
We are citizens
yep.
here.
Mm-hmm.
We pay taxes here,
Here, we're
and we should be getting the same benefits as, if not more,
yep.
than
That's
what
right.
all of these other groups are getting. You know,
No
we're
immigrants should be
newcomers. We got
able.
these people who come here from
Yep,
Europe. These people come here from Asia,
everywhere,
the
all over the world.
Caribbean, Africa. Everybody, they're coming here for a better life.
Yeah,
Fine.
everybody is
But
coming.
this country still has a debt to pay to repair the harm that has been done to
To Black.
Black people in
That's right.
this country. That
Mhm.
debt is owed, and nobody has anything to say about that.
Mhm.
And we have to be moved out of this situation of just being consumers.
That's right.
And
I
if
mean,
we're
I
going to
when
be
I
spending, we need to be spending with our own people and not on special days and special
every
occasions,
day,
but
every day.
on a regular basis.
When
I
I
mean,
look at.
we had our event over there on 87th Street.
Mhm,
I wanted to cut off the whole street
mhm.
and go all the way down to Stony Island from where the grocery store was. And then the other businesses could come out and people could come down that street and, see these businesses. Because while I was around in the community putting flyers on people's cars, I spoke to people who lived in that Chatham area, who had lived in that Chatham area for some decades and did not know that Black bookstore was there.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
So somebody is not doing their job to make these people aware. I think that needs to be a number one a business that the aldermen need to get about, is making sure that the people know about the businesses and the services that are in their community.
And I'm tired. They're talking about building senior citizen homes. I'm not saying that senior citizens don't shouldn't have a place to live, but that is not economic development. That's
Mhm.
all they bring to us. Of affordable housing. Why not single family homes?
And you
and
know
make
something
it
is
tough.
wrong. I'm gonna tell you what's wrong with that picture. You're building homes for seniors, and a lot of these seniors have homes. They selling their homes, moving into these. It's like part of a diabolical plan. Put
Mhm.
all these older and elder people in these senior buildings. What are you doing for the younger people? What are you doing for the youth? As you say, those people who maybe want to buy homes. And the only thing you see going up in our community are senior homes and churches
That's all. And so,
who don't pay taxes to
right.
the community.
So
So
what?
it's
Mhm.
parts.
So
And
what
you
about
call it a plan that's orchestrated, and I'm going to call it a very diabolical plan
yeah.
and a strategy that is used to keep Black people in this role of just being the consumer.
And then on the other hand, you bring all these other foreigners, immigrants, young people in here, and you're providing the economic engine that they need to continue to ride that train.
Hmm.
But when it comes to our 25, 30, 35-year-old Black men and women, you're not providing anything for them. You're not setting up so they can come in and buy a home. And that has to stop. We've got to stop electing immigrants because they do not have Black Americans' interests at heart. They do not care. They're here to get what we have and to bring others like them into the country. So
And
we're
think
going to have
about
to
it.
pay close attention to these politicians going forward. If not, we need to just hang it up.
And think about it this way: when you have a big business like Walmart or even a Macy's, you have a bunch of stores under one roof. It's
Mm-hmm.
not just Macy's. There are multiple stores inside of Macy's in all those different
Right.
departments.
Mm-hmm.
And you have multiple stores. So now these people come into our community and they open up a gas station, and in that now they selling you gas, and then you go inside the gas station and they have all of these multiple stores under one roof because they're selling you clothes in the gas station. They're selling you your groceries in the gas station, your toiletry needs, your
Selling
your
everything.
household needs, your hair care needs, your smoke needs, your gambling needs, of your
Everything.
cell phone and paraphernalia needs, all in one place. And you're coming in there to buy, period. That's your only role, is to go in there and buy. And so we have to stop spending our money with these people and start spending our money with our own and working to try to collectively begin to become more entrepreneurial, because as you become more entrepreneurial, you can provide jobs. One little restaurant can create 10 jobs.
Mhm. Mhm.
One little
And
small restaurant.
and to do this, we've got to come up with a plan, and we got to understand that there is going to have some sacrifices are going to have to be made. We're going to have, in order to turn this around a little, some plans got to have a plan and a vision. Number one. And you got to understand, to turn it around, it's going to be some sacrifices, because these people have saturated our communities with all of the businesses, the gas station, I mean, we have enough hair and nail black women and men in this city to create that industry that we used to dominate and control. But it's going to have to be a conscious sacrifice. If we don't think this way in terms of trying to prepare a future for our young people. Other people are talking about my children, the future of their children. We're the only ones that I do not hear talking about a future for our children. And the
And these
children,
are the conversations that need to be had
they got, yeah,
during election time.
the election time in
When
the
these people
churches,
are
everybody.
asking for our votes, we need to know what, no, we need to be demanding what it is that we need. And so what we were trying to say to you tonight, family, is Chicago, we have a right to Chicago. Chicago is our home.
We have a right to
And
America.
we shouldn't have to run
Mhm,
to another city, to another state, to another country.
mhm,
You know, this is our home. And we have to stay here and fight for this. It's worth fighting for,
mhm.
is what we're saying.
America is our home. This is
That's
our
right.
home. We built it.
And
We
America
built it.
owes Black
Oh,
people
mhm.
for the harm that has occurred and for the harm that continues to occur. It has not stopped.
And all these
And
little
that's what we have to bring to the fore.
and Denise, all these little programs that Brandon Johnson to study reparation. The city of Chicago and the state of Illinois cannot pay reparations to Black people. Only the federal government. And to me, these are just little pimping programs that they come up with to satisfy us until the next election and the next election. We don't need to study anything. All you need to do is go to the Urban League and get the figures, get the statistics. They got the statistics on health, education, employment, everything. That's your study right there.
And knowing that those programs are not going to lead to
Not
reparations.
going to lead to reparation.
None is not.
Mm-mm.
So wasting money, wasting time, uh,
Putting a few dollars in a few people's pockets, and that's it. You're bamboozling the people. You're lying to the people. You're misleading the people. And Black people have got to stop allowing people to mislead us because we're not getting any place.
well,
You're not building a future for our children, not anything for our children, while everybody else
and
is.
I think that's a key point right there because a lot of people may make a move and they may make a shift for their own best interest. But if we're thinking about our future, and if we're thinking about our children, like all of the other groups are doing, they are looking at the future of their children. You know, Daley, your young Daley Jr., when he got in office, you know, he was thinking about the next groups of young white people that were going to be coming into this city. And he built a place for them. He built that north side
And
and put
Rahm
all of those
Emanuel
business opportunities over there,
and
you
Rahm
know.
Emanuel's didn't
And
Rahm Emanuel's
now it's getting out of hand, you
mhm,
know, because it's getting to be more and more expensive
right?
for people to be over there. And if you don't have a certain income level, you know, it kind of doesn't matter what nationality you are, you're not going to be able to stay there. But there are obviously uh, groups that are dominating those types of jobs right now, and that's in your tech industry and that's in your medical industry that are affording to be able to live there.
And then you have Rahm Emanuel comes up with the New American Plan. But the immigrants,
Hmm.
immigrants in Chicago,
Yep.
doesn't say anything about Black people, foundational Black people here in Chicago, immigrants and their children. Nothing for our children.
That's right.
And we have allowed this. We are allowing this injustice to take place. And so we have to have a plan. We got to work that plan, and we got to force people to do what they are supposed to do. How is it that Desmond Yancey's ward is 65% Black, and you're down there voting for $700 million, the first vote, $70 million, the first vote, and only maybe 2 or 3% Hispanic in your ward? It doesn't make any sense. It will not happen any place else other than the Black community. The Black community is the only place where this nonsense and this injustice is allowed across the
So
board.
what I want to say is we have contributed greatly to the development of this city and what this city is. We have contributed economically, we have contributed culturally, the work that we have
Spiritually,
put into the various industries in this city, the creations, the inventions that we have made, many of the institutions that we have developed that have been bought out and sold, have all contributed to what Chicago is, on top of the fact that this country owes Black America.
You know,
They owe the Black people in this country. And Chicago is ours, and we need to be fighting to keep it. And one way to fight to keep it is to spend our dollars with our own people.
you know, we made a sacrifice with this business. We made a conscious decision during COVID to start this website because we knew that most of the people who would be losing their businesses would be Black people. We financed this ourselves, the three of us. That is the commitment that we've made to the Black community here in Chicago to bring on every Wednesday night a Black business owner. We've made that conscious effort, and we put our money behind it. We don't get any money from the government because we're too Black, according to them. You don't talk that Black stuff. So we don't get $1 from the government or anyone else. And so we decided, okay, we'll do it ourselves. In fact, it's better because we don't have all that nonsense that you have to deal with. And we're saying to those Black business men and women who have been on our show, the least you can do is give us $5. 99% of you have not even done that. So we have to take responsibility for what we don't do as a people. We are not taking responsibility for what we should be doing. You know, we have fallen down. Just $5. And from the community at large, $5. It would help defray some of the expenses, but whether we get the $5 or not, we're going on because we're committed to this. And so we have to be committed to each other as Black people. And we've lost that commitment to one another.
Well, it is a narrative that we need to be committed to if we're going to survive.
If we're going to survive.
If we're going to survive, there's no other way around it.
And one other point I want to make, you know, with this, what's going on over there in the Middle East. And Iran is saying to the United States government, for what you've done to us, we want reparations. Mm-hmm. Look at what America, the government of the United States of America, did to Black people in this country. And that is something we need to be talking about every day. They enslaved us for almost 250 years. Slaves. That's how America got built. The banking industry and all these other industries and institutions off our labor. And all the Jim Crow and all Reconstruction, all those periods that we've gone through up until today when we're still being denied.
And everybody else is getting wealthy and living the American dream off of our dollars.
And Iran is saying, you're going to pay us reparations. You're going to repair that country that you destroyed. Well, you destroyed us too. And we need to be repaid.
That's right.
And only the United States government can do that.
So family, what's important is that we support Black businesses.
That's right.
That's important.
And make a commitment for a future for our children.
That's right. So Doris, thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you, Denise, and thank you for the beautiful job that you do every week. I'm going to give you a medal one day because you deserve it. You deserve it. Thank you so much.
All right.
And good night to the family.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.